Why does God allow cancer to happen or auto accidents? It's not our choice. Why doesn't he intervene at those times and other times?
Very good. I had a discussion with a young lady a little earlier just about this very thing. The question is why, I'll break it into two questions. Why is there things like cancer, which no human being is choosing? Sometimes there's choices that affect it, like if you're a lifelong chain smoker, you're going to bear some of the responsibility for getting lung cancer or something like that. But even there, you can find lifelong smokers who don't get lung cancer and non-smokers who do. So even there's a certain arbitrariness. But you could point to other things, diseases, malaria, parasites, Ebola, mudslides, volcanoes. When nature goes awry, there often is no direct human choices that can plausibly be blamed on it. I think humans bear some of the responsibility for what happens to nature, but you can't possibly explain all of the havoc in nature on the choices that human beings make. And this is actually true throughout history. Wherever you stand on the evolution issue, I don't want to pick bones with that right now, but so far as I can see, the problem of evil goes back way before human beings ever got here. This is what bugged Darwin so much. There's a certain kind of a wasp that attacks caterpillars and knows just what, or it impregnates, as it were, or implants its larvae in the caterpillar, and the larvae know just what to eat to keep the caterpillar alive without killing it, but it feeds off the caterpillar for weeks until the caterpillar finally ends. I forget what it's called, some Latin name, but Darwin looked at that and said, that is just gross. Why would an all-good, all-loving, all-beautiful God create that kind of a arrangement? And you find that throughout nature. Tennyson said, nature red in tooth and claw. The love of God, our doctrine screams against the creed, but nature mocks our doctrine. Okay, two things. Number one, it's very important to remember, I think, that the Bible doesn't say just human beings have free will, but in fact, the cosmos is populated with spirit agents who also have free will. This was a truism in the early church. In fact, it's been a truism in most cultures throughout history. Almost everyone except for the modern West has believed that the universe is inhabited by spirit beings who have some say-so on a physical plane. And you find that throughout the Bible. In the same way that we have say-so to affect things that are under our responsibility, they have say-so to affect things that are under their responsibility. And some of what I think is under their responsibility is nature. I think that's a very biblical perspective. For example, Satan is called the Lord of Death. Hebrews 2:14, the one who holds the key of death. Now, death, from our natural perspective, is simply an outworking of the laws of nature. Everything tends towards decay. Everything dies. It's just nature doing what nature does, and yet the Bible ascribes that to the polluting influence of a major principality and power, the major principality and power. His name is Satan. And that tells us, and I think the whole Bible tells us, that nature as it now is not nature as God created it. It's nature under the influence of the powers. And it's not, and I could give you a lot of other evidence of this in the Bible, but read my book, God at War, where I go into this a little bit. I just wrote an article that'll be coming out in a book next year called Evolution as Cosmic Conflict. And I try to argue that from a theistic perspective of believing in God, you can't make sense out of the horror that is the whole evolutionary process if you think that God alone was the one involved in that. I think that there were powers and stuff involved in that. But it's not that there's a demon behind every tornado or earthquake or anything like that, or even behind every particular cancer. But there's demonic forces, I think, that are corrupting the world. That's why often when Jesus is healing somebody, he comes against demonic powers. And so there doesn't have to be a human agent involved in catastrophes to appeal to the free will defense. There's also spirit agents. Now, let me say, and this will be a longer one because this is a really important question. And as I said, I had this conversation just a little bit ago that I want to address it. As to why does God save some and not others? This prayer heals this person, but this prayer did seem to do nothing for that person. Some people testify about being miraculously spared out of a horrendous car wreck or disaster. The guy that I mentioned earlier in the airplane. Other people pray all the time and they get killed. Parents pray for protection whenever they travel in the car. Parents don't even believe in God and never pray for protection. They both get in car wrecks, and the people who prayed got their kid killed, and the other one didn't. What do you do with that? And the reality that we have to deal with is this. There is, so far as I can see, almost no rhyme or reason at all to why anything happens the way it does. We just got to come clean with that. And the Bible's aware of that. That's why you have the Psalms where David's saying, how come the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer? And I think we just got to come to grips with that. Now, the shortest version of what I could say in response to that is this. I don't know if you've ever heard of chaos theory, but in chaos theory and the butterfly effect, the basic principle is that the slightest alteration anywhere can cause major alterations elsewhere. The flap of a butterfly wing in Taiwan can be the decisive variable that affects a hurricane in Florida 3 years later or 3 months later. Everything's interconnected. Now, envision a universe where you have a myriad of physical free agents, and every decision we make to go this way or that way causes a ripple effect in a pond, like dropping a pebble in the pond. And those ripples interact with other ripples. And it goes on and on throughout history. I mean, we're still, as far as I can see, suffering under the effect of a decision that was made in our primordial past by Adam and Eve. And now include on that a myriad of angelic beings. Every decision they make affects what comes to pass. Ripples in the pond, all interacting, interfering with one another. And if you think that through, what you come to is this. Everything that happens, to understand any of it in any kind of a comprehensive way, would require knowing every decision ever made in the physical and angelic realm throughout history. Because if anything had been different, this might have been different. Why are you sitting in that chair right there? Why are you wearing that color shirt? Why is this bottle right here, right now? On the one hand, an easy answer would be to say, well, you were thirsty, so you got the bottle and you put it right there. True. But why this bottle? Why right here? That decision was based on the fact that I didn't get water earlier because I decided to get coffee. Why did I decide to get coffee? Well, because that goes back to when I was a kid in junior high school. I started doing coffee because I didn't sleep at night and I had to get up to go to school. And then I got addicted to caffeine. That's why, and that was based on the fact that my mother always drank coffee, and that was based on the fact that she was abused, blah, 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 blah. And before too long, you can prove logically that to understand any particular fact, this here, why this person got killed in a car wreck, why that duck landed in a pond, why there's a 4-second interval between 2 cars going down White Bear right now, you'd have to know every decision that was ever made throughout history, which is why the world has got to strike us as absolutely arbitrary. Utterly, utterly arbitrary. But it's not arbitrary because God is arbitrary up there going, I think I'll spare you, but not you. Oh, no, yeah, you can't rape that girl, but you can rape that girl. Oh, you put her in the gas chamber. He's not the one pulling all the strings. He's always a force of good, but he's working with an incredibly complex universe of free agents, and there's a cosmic war going on. And so the world is arbitrary, not because God is arbitrary, but because there's so many variables that affect everything that comes to pass, and it's all taking place in the midst of a cosmic war. That, I think, is what the book of Job is about, but that's a different question. If you want more on that, I encourage you to read the book, Is God to Blame? There.